Hi everyone, it's Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer, and I am really delighted that we get to talk about feeling overwhelmed today. During the holiday season, it can be so easy to become so busy and so caught up in rushing about, trying to get everything done and meet all of the obligations that may have been piled up. Almost every culture and every religious group has a holiday during this time. So it's difficult not to be extremely busy. And that can make you feel overwhelmed and as though you're really not doing a good job of organizing your life, or just feeling tired and out of sorts or over obligated. So what I wanted to look at today is how we can do a better job of feeling like, hey, I got this all together. I'm okay. I understand what I need to do or how I can organize my energy in a way that allows me still to have plenty of joy through this season, but not to feel lost and confused. So, as always, we want to look at our guides, our helpers, and see what they have to share with us. And remember, just because we're in the holiday season, it doesn't mean that this is the only time this information would apply. I just felt that it was really going to be beneficial to all of us because we are in the holiday season. But they begin. Dear ones, the holidays, which should be a time of joyous uplifting, tend to be viewed as stressful and overwhelming by most of you. We wish to give you a present for the holidays that can continue to provide you with relief throughout the year. Dealing with feelings of overwhelm and stress is extremely important if you're going to successfully keep your vibration high. As we've shared on many previous occasions, keeping your vibrational offering high creates an abundant life. A life that is vibrationally abundant is truly a life of wealth, for the one who stays in the place of love, joy, gratitude, and peace on a consistent basis finds that indeed all things are added onto him. Now let's take just a moment to stop here. Don't we all want a more abundant life? Doesn't it at times seem so out of reach? They've just given us the key right here. And I can absolutely guarantee you, the more time that you spend in love, joy, peace, and gratitude, the more your life will be able to unfold in a joyous, restorative, pleasing manner. My life is unfolding in ways that I never thought was possible, even a few short years ago. And it is because of the amount of time and the amount of energy that I put into maintaining that high vibration. It did not happen for me the minute I started this practice. It took me years to build up to it. Now we are in a different energetic system. It's much more profound. It's much more helpful. So your timeline will not be the same as mine. But it does take some time to build up the energy of goodness and gratitude in your life, as opposed to fear and desperation. You need never go chasing your treasure. You need only to practice that vibration of joyful gratitude, and good fortune will chase you. So we have given you two presents this holiday season. Keeping your vibration high brings prosperity, and eliminating overwhelm and stress in your life will make it easier to maintain that high vibration. Now it's time to further unwrap each of these gifts. Knowledge, which we have shared with you, is most admirable but not always useful. Wisdom, on the other hand, is always useful because wisdom is the end product of taking the knowledge and learning how to apply it so you can make use of the information you've been given. And that's what we're trying to do in each one of these classes with your input, with help from the guides, and with the explanation that I am interspersing throughout. We are looking for wisdom. And so many of you that are willing to participate or share with what you have encountered are also participating in that wisdom. So together, we are making it easier for all of us to get the tools that we require. Dealing with overwhelm and stress, whether it comes from people or situations, is vital, so you can keep your vibration consistently high and thus reap the benefits of such a wisely led life. We want you to understand that rigid discipline is not considered a high vibrational frequency. So really, let's look at this. Discipline is an imposed behavior. I know that that word is used quite often, but if it is used in the strict sense, which is the way they're referring to it here, where you must become very militaristic in your behavior towards yourself. This must be done, and this, and you got the whip out. That's discipline in the militaristic sense, in that it is imposed. But once you have incorporated the behavior within your operating system and it feels natural, it will no longer be a discipline but a way of life. So they're saying, allow it to be flowing. Yes, you have a spiritual discipline. Your spiritual practice should be regular and it should be consistent. That would be the discipline in your practice, or just the fact that you are practicing can be considered a discipline, something that you do on a regular basis. But becoming rigid about it is the militaristic aspect of applying discipline, and they want us to strive for flow. Therefore, we want you not to strive for rigid discipline as an end product, but to apply it to your life. In the beginning, discipline will be necessary to get you started on the most beneficial path. But once the desired behavior has become part of your operating system, step fully into the flow. This is, of course, if the behavior you have acquired is beneficial. If it's not, offer yourself loving compassion and place your focus on all that you do want. Always, whether you are beginning something and you are doing great and practicing regularly and then forgot about it for a while and woke up one day and realized, oh, I haven't done anything that I wanted to do, and started getting into self-condemnation. It's not going to help you. We do think with one part of our mind, oh, this is the right thing to do. If I get really strict and angry with myself, that will really motivate me. Generally, that does not work. You know yourself better than anyone else, but I have yet to meet someone who really responds well from criticism. Loving compassion will allow you to successfully alter any thought, behavior, or feeling more quickly and more effectively than harsh criticism ever will. I certainly agree with that statement. And with all of the people that I've worked with, they've already, when they've come to me, have become incredibly harsh critics, and they've beaten themselves down because of that. So part of the work that I do with people is to help you build yourself back up, as you're not getting anywhere once you've shoved yourself down into the lowest trench possible. So let go of the harsh criticism, even if you find that you've fallen off the wagon of your disciplined practice. Be loving and kind and congratulate yourself for the times that you did do it. So now let us return to the subject of overwhelm and stress. It doesn't matter why you're feeling this way. It only matters that you are. Fix the problem at its source, and all the outlying issues will be resolved in due time. As much as you'd like to believe that you're feeling overwhelmed because someone or something is doing something to make you feel this way, that is simply not true. You're feeling overwhelmed because you're reacting to or being triggered by what's happening. In other words, it's all on you. You're the determining factor, and the other things just are. They're just being what they desire to be for their growth, and it's you that's allowing that to be a problem for you. Now, instead of getting huffy about the responsibility we've assigned you and immediately feeling more overwhelmed and stressed, recognize the freedom we've gifted you. Yet you only have knowledge at this time, and you'll need wisdom to take full advantage of this information. So before we go more fully into unwrapping this present and finding the wisdom within, really recognize what they have shared with us here. Other people are just, and circumstances are just doing what they feel is best for their growth. They're not out to deliberately hurt or trip you up or cause your life to be more difficult. They're just doing what they feel is best for them. If you go into the circumstance with that attitude instead of the attitude, everybody always tries to hurt me, you will be much more powerful and much more able to see your part in the program, and you will not become triggered so easily. This freedom to choose is a magnificent gift, and we really have to be very present to make sure that we are using it to its optimal advantage and not just reacting. You don't have to react to people or situations that appear negative. You can choose to stay in your high place of joyful gratitude and just refuse to become unmoored by any and all lower vibrational offerings. Now, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. You will find yourself being drawn in. But again, with practice, with consistent application, with the discipline that we apply in the beginning to get this to be a normal habit for us, it becomes easier and easier. You catch yourself as you're being pulled away into the darkness, kind of shake it off and say, what am I doing? I don't have to choose this. Just because there's a lot to do, you don't have to feel overwhelmed. Just because you've got many irons in the fire or difficult people to please, you don't have to fall victim to stress and overwhelm. You always have a choice. However, before you exercise that choice, you have to recognize certain truths. First, you are not responsible for how other people choose to live their lives. Now, if I had a penny for every time I stepped in where it was not my business to do so, and tried to make someone happy that wasn't interested in becoming that way, I would probably be a billionaire these days. If others choose to be irresponsible or reckless and then find they must deal with the consequences of their choices, you don't have to rescue them. That was another thing. If I saw that you were having a difficult time and I thought that I could help you in some way, I wanted to rescue you. But here's what I have learned since. Growth comes when you overcome a challenge on your own, not when someone does it for you. But listen to this next part, because it doesn't mean we walk away and leave others in the gutter when they're asking for help. Lend a hand if you can do it without causing distress to yourself, but you are not obliged to fix the world. So, if you can give from your overflow, if you are in a good headspace and you can stay in your high place, reach down and pull someone else up to you, just don't jump into their dark place to try to rescue them. First, it won't help anyone long term. If they're not interested, you going into the dark will not matter. It will just make you have to fight harder to go back into your high place, and it won't help them. And second, no one can take away another's free will. So if they don't want to be helped, you can't force them to be helped. They've got to be ready before anything you do will be effective. You can plant a seed. You can share what you know. But if you see that they are not interested, it's okay to walk away and to allow them to have the experience of whatever it is that they're creating. That's not cruelty. You did what you could, and they said, no, thank you. Therefore, when you help from your overflow, do so. When you cannot, stay away. It's not your job to fix someone else's life. Second, you're responsible for how you show up. So, if I try to say, well, I would really be doing a great job with my spiritual practice if it wasn't for Mary over there in the corner. Guess what? Mary has no control over your life. She has only the control you're giving her. And by trying to blame her, you're trying to give up all of your control. You're responsible for how you show up. If you're going to be sloppy in your spiritual practice and allow yourself to be any old way but present, focused, and grateful, you'll easily be pulled into the storms of those around you. Take a listen to that. Present, focused, grateful. Otherwise, you run the possibility of being pulled in to someone else's chaos and negativity. If you are present in your life, if you are focused on this moment, if you are grateful for all that you have received in the past and in the present, and you're excited about what's coming to you in the future, because you know from being so grounded and so present that you are blessed, then people can have meltdowns all around you, and you'll be just fine. If you've taken the time to prepare vibrationally, to ground, center, and fill with the power of unconditional love, then hell can arrive at your door and you'll remain unruffled. So stay out of other people's business and mind your own vibration. You know how they always used to tell us, mind your own business? Well, now we have a new saying, mind your own vibration. Do the clearing and healing necessary so that you can rise above and stay there. Do not attempt to hold on to your resentment, fear, and anger and expect to be stress and anxiety free. If you are angry at someone, if you are blaming someone, if you're participating in shame, even if it's self-shame, self-hatred, it doesn't matter how it happens. But if you're dragging around this heavy ball and chain of fear and anger and negativity, and you try to keep your vibration consistently high, it will be an impossible task. Just cut the chain. Get rid of the fear, the negativity, the frustration, whatever it is that's trying to pull you down. Deal with it. Look at it. Find out what it is. What's it trying to share with you? It has a message for you. And the message is probably, let go of me. You're never going to move forward if you keep trying to drag around this old suitcase full of negativity. Clear out the heart space where you're holding on to that. Make room for fresh, clear, clean Holy Spirit energy, unconditional love. and reap the reward. Your part in this is paramount. No one can do it for you. You decide who and what is allowed to participate in your life. You're not a victim of circumstances tossed about by the winds of chance. You are a vibrant creator who decides what feels good and what's acceptable. So let's really zero in on that for a moment. You're not a victim of circumstances. I used to believe things just happened to me. It was the most painful life possible to live. Everything bad happened because that's all I noticed, and I believed that I was a victim. Then I learned I had free will and I could make choices, and I had to be responsible for those choices, that I was actually a powerful, vibrant creator, and I started creating decision by decision, choice by choice, a much more powerful, joyful life. I was never being tossed around by chance. I just believed that was true. But my belief made it my reality. So I am no longer dealing with chance. Yes, things do happen. It's part of life. But I am no longer dealing with chance. Now I am a deliberate creator, and I ask that God help me create the most joyful, service-filled life possible. Happy to be of service and to be joyful and to be abundant in all areas of my life. I am not happy to be a victim or to be taken advantage of. But it had to be me recognizing that I was allowing that before it could change. So if that's something that you're doing, your Christmas present or your holiday gift to yourself, if you don't celebrate Christmas, should be, I am a powerful creator and I get to choose what I allow in my life. And I'm done with all this negative baggage that I've been carrying around. And as always, if you need help, I do offer a free Victim to Victorious session, 30 minutes, where I help you identify what's going on, where you would like to be, and help restore your revitalization, help restore your vitality, revitalize you so that you feel energized to begin taking over your life again. Or you can work with me personally, and then you get the support that you need in order to make positive changes. When you feel overwhelmed, trying to overtake you, a couple of questions they want you to ask yourself. Am I taking on a project, a problem, or an energy stream that doesn't belong to me? If you try that, you're trying to fix someone else's life. Examine your motive and their response. Are you looking for glory because you feel less than, or do you sincerely want to help? We got to be really careful about that because it can sneak in. When you are a service provider, you do want to help, but if you've not cleared the ego side of it, glory can kind of sneak in there. Oh, I'll feel better if I help somebody. No, it's much better if you work on you first and then work on helping other people. Otherwise, it will devolve into a glory-seeking kind of thing. You will be looking for them to praise you so that you can feel better about you. And remember, they must agree to the help before you can do anything. And you may only give from your overflow. I don't want anybody writing me, telling me, oh, I started giving and now I'm so exhausted. That's not appropriate giving. Again, that is ego-based giving. When you are giving from your divine source, you are connecting first and allowing Source to move through you and out of you to bless the other people in the way that is best for them. That's giving from your overflow. If you find you have no extra to give, look at those things in your life that are using up your time and energy. Perhaps some of them need to be eliminated. If you've tried to take over for someone else, you're out of order. Another reason for feeling overwhelmed is poor organization. If the projects and people do belong in your life, look for ways to streamline how you interact with them. Step out of the sacrificial role and ask everyone to participate in their own well-being and upkeep. Strength is gained when you understand you're capable, not when you're able to get others to do it for you. Teach and model loving service and self-sufficiency, not dependency and overwhelm. Really, really important that we hear this. We know that strength is gained when we understand that we can do something. So as leaders, as way showers, as people who have agreed to be light workers and service providers for others who are just opening up, teach and model loving service and self-sufficiency. But do not ask them or get into a relationship with them that models dependency and overwhelm. Don't try to keep anyone dependent on you. You must always remember that you decide what is acceptable to you. No one can force you to do anything. Therefore, placing yourself in the highest vibrational offering of joyful gratitude and doing the practice necessary to sustain that vibration will assure you that you'll be able to meet every situation with good cheer and confidence instead of despair and depression. Be the powerful creator you are, and always choose wisely. Now, they've given us so much wonderful information, and we need to make sure that we're going to be using it correctly. Before I share any more, I want to just go over what they shared with us and then ask if anyone has any questions about what it's been like for them to be in the holidays and to feel slightly overwhelmed, if not completely overwhelmed. One of the things that I want you to understand is I'll share a story about two mothers. Now, these were both wonderful women, so I'm not criticizing them, but they had a completely different relationship with their children, and both of these children had chosen to come in with a developmental disability. So it meant that the mothers and both of the children chose the same one. And so it meant that they were not going to fully, I guess the best way to say, they were not going to develop fully intellectually. So likely that they would probably always need support throughout their lives. Difficult for them to be completely independent. But it was so interesting to watch the way these two different mothers chose to engage with these two different, both women, children, both girls. Now, I did meet one combination when the child was middle school, high school, or she may have just begun high school. I think she had just begun high school. And then the other part of that other woman's child was only in elementary school. So things could have changed as her daughter matured, but it was very interesting to watch this. So, what do we need to remember? The holidays can be stressful, but they don't have to be, because everything is mindset. If you decide that the holidays are going to equal stress. And certainly I've had conversations with people who say, oh, this is such a stressful time of the year. I really get upset every time I think about it. I anticipate that it's going to be tough. If you decide they're going to be pleasant and fun, they're more likely to be joy-filled. I also have had conversations with people who say, I just love this time of the year. Everyone is in such a fabulous mood. So these two different people were creating different scenarios for themselves. Yet no matter what time of year it is, it's important to have an abundant mindset. Because remember, they promised us that if we get into that high place of love, joy, and peace and gratitude, that which we desire will not be chased. It will find us. And I guarantee you from my own personal experience, this is 100% true. A high vibration is absolutely necessary, and the ability to flow instead of force. And add into that an overflowing attitude of gratitude, then you really are living. All things will be added unto you. The chase ends and the settled receiving begins. You're going to begin emitting a strong attraction frequency so that you will attract without working hard. You'll attract everything that's for your highest good. We don't want to just receive everything we desire because ego may have snuck into our wish list. So instead we ask for everything that's for our highest good. And I have a wonderful story about that. I've shared it before, but it's such a great story that I need to share it again. So let's pretend that I'm wanting a new car, and I happen to love convertibles. So I visualize and really get in touch and in alignment with this beautiful new convertible that just feels perfect to me, handles perfectly. It's exactly what I want in a car, exactly what I had been desiring. And I wake up and I look out the window and I'm all excited because I've been told the car is going to be delivered today into my driveway. I open the door and, gosh, here's an SUV with a really hard top. Doesn't even pretend to be a convertible. But I had already scheduled a journey. I was going to be driving through the mountains because I'm going to be giving a presentation in a mountain town. So I pack up my bags and I'm a little disappointed because I really wanted this convertible and I thought it would be so fun to drive through the mountains in the nice warm air with the top down. And so I'm driving, and suddenly I'm hearing this rumbling. But I'm on this narrow mountain road, and there's no way to get away. So I try to speed up to see if I can avoid the problem, but this sound keeps following me. Then I try to slow down, but no matter where I go, the sound keeps following me until all of a sudden I feel this crash, this thunk on the top of my roof. And then I look over and here's this boulder continuing to roll down the hill. And suddenly I'm very grateful that the angels delivered a hardtop SUV instead of a convertible. Because there was going to be a rock slide, whether I was in that place or not, but because I had decided to be in that place, I was going to be in the position to be hit by that rock, and I would assume depart this life if I had been driving a convertible. So that's why we always ask for the highest good. Now I can take that SUV into the dealership, get it repaired, and then trade it in for the convertible, and then I can have the best of both worlds. But We have to be careful to let God decide for us, because remember, they have that overarching vision that we're not capable of receiving. Also, we need to remember discipline is beneficial to help our spiritual practice to become a habit, but we don't want to be rigid. The goal is not rigidly disciplined. It is a spiritually fully integrated life that incorporates good spiritual life-affirming practices. You want it to flow naturally from you, but in the beginning, of course, you're creating a new habit and you're going to need that discipline. When you're wanting to conquer feelings of overwhelm, don't attend to the immediate symptom. Go to the root of the problem and make your correction there. So if you're feeling very overwhelmed, check, have I let my spiritual practice slip? Do I need to put some more discipline in here? Am I allowing myself to be a little too free-willing in my spiritual practice? When you correct the cause, all of the subsequent behavior falls into alignment. Begin by recognizing that you're not responsible for other people's choices if you feel that you're being dragged into places that you don't want to be. You're not a fish on a hook that somebody can drag around. If someone else wants to be sad and depressed, it's not your job to fix them unless they ask for help and they actively receive it. Some people will ask for help and then do nothing to change their behavior so that you have to keep coming to rescue them again and again and again. Decide how much is enough before you engage in that behavior. You're not the rescue society for people's bad choices. And it's okay to allow people to feel the effects of their choices, because growth comes from overcoming, not from being rescued. Personally, I know for sure my growth happened when I felt the sting of my bad choices, not when I was being cocooned when I was younger. And by cocooned, I mean just not fully experiencing the effects of my choices. There was really nobody that was protecting me. But I was so naive, the universe was cocooning me until I was getting some of this information in me, and then they were saying, okay, start applying it. Show us what you learned. And that's when I could really feel the effects. So, lend a hand if you are able to do so without hurting yourself. We've only got one of you. You're the most important thing that we could have, the most valuable. So we don't want you to be wasting your energy on someone who's not interested in being healed. There are plenty of people that are looking for help. You are responsible for your own choices, and your output is your business. So even if someone says to you, you're really rude for not helping me, you don't need to take that in unless it belongs to you, unless you feel that that is true. No one can make you feel out of sorts or bring you down unless you give your permission, either consciously or unconsciously. Consciously would be the verbal agreement. Oh yes, I'll do that for you. Well, if you give your word, you should follow up on it. But unconsciously, when we give unconscious agreement, it's generally because you have no self-worth, or perhaps there's abuse in your background. This is how victims become created. You believe you have no choice. That's what these master classes are all about, teaching you you have a choice and that you do not have to be a victim. You cannot try to drag your baggage, though. Remember that. You cannot say, I I am ready to let go of being a victim. I am ready to understand how strong I am and powerful I am and all of the choices that belong to me. But let me just hold on to fear and worry and desperation and shame and blame and resentment and hatred and anger. It's not going to work. A high vibrational space is filled with love, joy, peace, and gratitude. And that's it. Nothing else. If you try to say yes to a mixed vibration, it's really going to cause chaos, and absolutely you will feel overwhelmed. So be very clear about how you're showing up. It's important to ask yourself periodically, does this belong to me? Should I be involved in this? Remember what they told us, mind your own vibration. If you're in someone else's backyard, you need to examine your motive, because we often try to help others out of the energy of glory and or avoidance. So you may be saying, oh my gosh, I really don't want to deal with my own stuff right now. So let me just avoid that and we'll go help Sue over here in the corner. Not a good idea. First of all, you need to clear you before you can really help someone else, or at least clear that aspect of you that is causing the problem that you're going to go help the other person with. Because you don't want to bring your mixed messaging to them and think that they're going to benefit from you being in the arrangement with them or in that situation with them. And let us remember to ask ourselves, are we doing this to make ourselves feel better, which would be the glory ego side, or are we atoning for a perceived sin? And that might be the false humility, the side that says, oh, I have to do this because I was so bad, or because I need to pay back in some way. But remember, sin is only a mistake or missing the mark. It's an archery term. It has nothing to do with being bad. So giving can and should only be done from your overflow. If you find that you're doing it for another reason, pull back. It's not going to be or have the impact that you were hoping. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you may be taking on projects that are not meant to be yours. Giving from your own supply instead of your overflow once again. So sometimes it is you're helping people that you don't need to be helping. Sometimes you're taking on responsibility that doesn't need to be yours. Also, you may have an organizational problem. You can ask people to contribute. If you've determined that you need to be involved, don't play hero. Ask everyone to do what they do best and to help in their area of strength. Really, really important that you get this clear. You're not going to be able to do everything perfectly. You came with skills in a certain area, and I guarantee you they're there, even if you haven't uncovered them yet. But you don't have great skills in every area. You're going to have some areas where you're strong and some areas where you're weak. Learn to partner with people who are strong in your weaker areas. It becomes a beautifully balanced relationship. Just remember, we are teaching and modeling loving service and self-sufficiency to others, which means we must show them what they can do well. If we're trying to do it all, they never get a chance to show us or for us to show them what they can do well. So step away from creating dependent people and forcing them to feel overwhelmed, because if you're dependent, you're always a little anxious because you never think you can do anything on your own. And that begins the downward spiral of overwhelm. And now, star 2, if anyone has either a situation that they're trying to deal with right now, and let's work through it together today in this class, or a situation that you do feel that you've handled well, that you want to share with us. We are here to support you and to cheer you on. Again, remember, if you feel that you have become overwhelmed and you need support, go on my website, Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer. Excuse me, Marcia spelled Marcia, Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer, and go under contact and schedule your appointment. It is a free 30-minute consultation where I help you identify where you want to go, what could be preventing you from getting there, and then give you some motivational strategies so that you can take off really going in the right direction. So star 2, if you want to share your story of success or even your story of stress so we can help you relieve that stress. Okay, so I want to share this story of 2 women who had children in their home who were developmentally disabled so that they were not going to fully be able to function in the adult capacity. And probably both of these women would not have a long lifespan. I believe the average lifespan for this particular disability is about 30. It used to be even less than that, but I think they've been able to find ways to extend that. But I remember talking to the woman who had the child who was younger at the time, and she said that she spent quite a bit of time crying and grieving for the fact that her child was not perfectly developed. And she was really having a hard time. She felt overwhelmed a lot of the time. I didn't know anything that I know now, so I was not able to be more than a sympathetic ear. But she said, my daughter is showing a lot of signs of anger and aggression. I'm beginning already, even though she's only technically in the 2nd grade, beginning to have some difficulty getting her to do what I ask her to do. And I feel like I'm a helicopter parent because I must be, so overzealous in guarding her to make sure that nothing happens to her. That she doesn't get taken advantage of, or she doesn't make a bad choice or put herself in danger. Now, these are all very real concerns. And I had no answer for her other than, gosh, I'm so sorry that you have to deal with that. I'll be happy to allow your daughter to come over to my house and my daughter was younger at the time, and she can play with some of my daughter's toys. This little girl was younger than my daughter. I think my daughter was 2 years older than she, but there were still some things that she may be interested in playing with, and I thought that I could give this woman a break. And so a couple of years later, I happened to meet another woman, and she had a daughter with the same developmental disability, and yet this girl was older, and the mother was completely different. Because the mother said, oh no, I'm not going to treat you as though you have a disability. I'm not going to treat you as though you're different or that you're fragile or that you should not answer to the consequences for what you've done. You're going to be called on the carpet just like your older sisters are. And you are going to have the opportunity to have the most normal life that you can. I will expect you to learn and to contribute and to do everything that you can do. I'll support you, but I won't do it for you. The first mother with the younger daughter was so concerned and in such a state of grief and I think blame, because she felt that her daughter was not perfect, even though we know that we know now that everyone brings with them everything that they need for the perfect life experience. Even though it may not look perfect to us, it is perfect for the life challenge that they have assigned to themselves. So we have these two perfect daughters and two very different mother parenting styles. Now, I have lost touch with the first mother, but I am in infrequent touch with the second mother, and her daughter graduated from high school and helps her out in her little business. And I have watched that second girl really develop much more fully than I ever expected her to be able to do so. And I absolutely believe it is because the expectation was kept high for her. She was not given a free pass because of her disability. I remember one time that she stole a necklace from her mother to give it to her friend. And at the time that she did it, she didn't view it as stealing. She just wanted to give her friend something pretty. Well, her mother explained why it was wrong and then put her on disciplinary action. I think she was grounded for a couple of days for doing that because she said, you should know better. You're perfectly capable and you should know better, and that's not acceptable behavior. So she was treated just like her older sisters and was given responsibilities and chores and had high expectation. And she rose to the occasion. And as I said, the other girl was younger, and I've lost touch with her, so I don't know. But I dearly hope that her mother received the counsel and support that this first mother got, and she began expecting more out of her child and putting up with less bad behavior, expecting her to behave and demanding that she do so, and giving her some discipline if she didn't. So remember, we have free will. We can choose what our life is going to look like, what it's going to feel like, with the circumstances to a degree that we're going to encounter. Yes, you still will have life challenges, and they can be pretty big at times, but you will be able to handle anything that life sends your way. I guarantee you. As long as you are connected to Source and you allow that help to guide you and you stay in a position of flowing instead of forcing. Star 2, one last chance. Anyone have anything that they'd like to share? All right, everyone. For those of you who celebrate Christmas, our next call will be the day after Christmas. For all of you who are celebrating the other many, many wonderful holidays, I know we have Hanukkah and Kwanzaa, and I'm not sure what else, but those are two that I know of. If there's another one, happy holidays to you and to yours. May you have a joyous celebration with your family. And remember, stay in your high place. And all those good things that you are desiring will be added onto you. You will become the attractor beam. Just by staying in your high place of love, joy, peace, and gratitude. So until next Wednesday, I'm sending you all my love.